Well, over the weekend, Oklahoma had its first ice storm of the 2015-2016 season, so we saw a lot of trees caked and coated in ice. A lot of trees slumped over and a lot of tree branches snapped. Power outages as a result of that. What do you do when your tree is iced over? We have the man who knows, is Matt Janda. He's the lead horticulturist with the Myriad Gardens Foundation. Matt, it's great to meet you, and thanks for stopping in this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me.
Let's start with this poinsettia. Leslie Spears from Myriad Gardens walks in and says, "This poinsettia looks horrible, Dave." Matt, your initial thoughts? Good, bad? What do we need to do here? Give it some water?
Yeah, a little bit of water. Might need a little bit more sun, but it's coming along.
Well, we had some natural light coming in off the street, so perhaps that'll help out, but yeah, you're probably right. Okay, so it's dry.
So yeah, better days.
Okay, well,
okay.
I just got it. I don't know how many better days it's had, but I'm horrible at keeping these things alive. But a lot of the questions we had here internally, what do you do when your tree in the backyard and the front yard is just coated in ice? Is it better to take a hammer to it and knock off that ice, or get a chainsaw? What should you do?
The best thing to do is just be patient, let it melt, do its own thing, just because you don't want to knock the ice off the limbs. Like, there's a risk to injure yourself as well as injuring the tree. So just be patient and let it do its own thing.
And in this case, we knew we had warmer days ahead, so it was going to thaw. It was going to dry out pretty fast. So, but what if we're right in the middle of the ice storm in February? It's no warmer days in sight. Then what's our best bet?
Well, if you just have a couple fallen limbs, like on your driveway, sidewalks, like, you can clear those. And if you actually have one that goes through the roof, like, that might be an issue where you need to get like somebody that's like a certified arborist out to help you address those issues and like help you out.
Where does a person find a certified arborist?
You can go online and just search certified arborists in
go to the
Oklahoma City,
Google,
Edmond, yeah, the metro area.
But a lot of Total Environment, you guys are using ProTree or something over at Myriad Gardens.
Yes.
A lot of those landscape companies also offer an expert in this field, right?
Yes, there are several local landscape companies that have a certified arborist on staff, and you could ask them, like, when you call and find out like if they do have a certified arborist. So they're out there and they're easy to find.
How did you get into this field, Matt?
It's kind of a funny story. I've always liked designing and drawing, so I had an interest in plants, so I combined the two. Went to OSU, got a landscape contracting degree, designed for a couple years, and then got into the maintenance side of it. Worked on a Total Environment for about 2-3 years, and from there I've been at the Myriad since.
Total Environment, of course, we see those trucks up in the Nichols Hills area. I think Galardia, you mentioned that as well. Design, are you talking like curb appeal type design?
Yeah, residential, mainly landscape, backyard, front yard.
So can you drive by a residence or a neighborhood without instincts kicking in? You're like, well, I wouldn't have put that bush there,
Oh yeah, you could ask my wife. I always point at that stuff. So.
All right, back to the trees. What's the best way to save a tree after an ice storm?
Again, going back to the certified arborist, I think if you'd get them out, they could assess the damage and they could properly bring down the broken limbs. They'll be safe about it, and like, they have the best interest for the tree. They want to preserve it. And a lot of times you'll see the limbs that are like hanging over, and if they're like, you don't see any signs of damage, like where it's split on the bark, like a lot of times they'll come back up. Like,
well,
they'll recover.
That's a good point. At what point do you call it quits, taking this tree out, or what are signs you can look for that the tree is probably going to make it?
Well, plants are tougher than like you think.
I hope this guy is.
Yeah.
There may not be any hope for him, but I hope he's tougher than I think.
A lot of trees can lose about half of its canopy and like still recover. So I know it's different with this ice storm just because it was like, we had a cool late fall, like it didn't get cold and there's a lot of foliage on the limbs, and like with all that added weight, it snapped a lot of the trees. And
yeah, it seemed like there was a lot of leaves, and we're looking at some footage there, and exactly what you're talking about. Look at all the foliage that is still, and I'm assuming the canopy is what you mean, the top of the tree type. But look at that. It's like fall right there as we're seeing the chainsaws come out. So that just added to the weight, and with the ice on top of that, that really didn't help the trees out at all, right?
No. And what you can do with trees that do retain their foliage late into the fall, like all the oak trees and the pistache, like you can go in and selectively prune, thin out the canopy. That way there's not as much weight up there when we do get the ice storms.
Matt, I have one last question for you. We're talking with Matt Janda, lead horticulturist over at the Myriad Gardens. Trees when you're planting that you should plant versus trees to avoid.
Yes, trees that should avoid, like someone probably know, the Bradford pear.
And we have a lot of those in
the sugar and silver maples, willows, really anything that grows fast. Like I know the trees are desirable because they do grow fast and they give that immediate impact of shade, but the faster growing woods are weaker and they have narrow crotch angles, which narrow crotch angles you don't want. That's why they're so weak.
Okay.
And then some of the other trees that like are approved are the slower growers, like the oaks and the pistache and sycamores. And like I said earlier, like you want to prune those annually just to like train them, let them grow properly, and that way there's not as much damage.
May take a little bit longer, but they'll be a good sturdy tree for you, right?
Yes.
All right,
Yeah.
This is Matt Janda dropping knowledge. We'll see if we can save this poinsettia. I hope it'll give us some more tips when we get off camera. Matt, thanks for your time today. I know it's a busy time for you, and we appreciate the information. Happy holidays.
All right, thank you. You too.
All right, we chat with the Myriad Gardens every couple weeks here, so tune in for those interviews right here on newsok.com.